Hello, this is Jay, and in this video I'm just going to quickly go over the Maya UI and generally what you get given when you first open Maya and how to navigate in Maya, as well as using some of the shortcuts to speed up your workflow. So yeah, opening up Maya, you should get something like this, which composes of this top toolbar here, which is your menu bar. So you'll get your file, save as, open scene, new scene, just the general stuff, as well as sending assets to other packages such as Softimage, Motion Builder, Mudbox, etc. We'll come to this later on, which is how to set up projects and create new projects. So yeah, we'll come to that later on, which is very useful. And then along here we have the edit toolbar, which is, again, you'll probably find something like this in most packages: undo, redo, cut, copy, paste. All the shortcuts are going to be familiar from other packages as well. So moving along, we've got the create. So here you'll be creating things such as polygon objects, spheres, NURBS objects that you'll probably use as your base for editing or creating assets from if you're a modeler. So I'll get rid of that there. And then again, these sort of menus from this point here become pretty dependent on which module you're working in. So at the minute I've got the default module, which is animation, and if I open that up, we can see we can go to polygon, surfaces, dynamics, and if I click on any one of these, yeah, half of these are going to change to facilitate that, and some of them are going to remain. Again, the default ones going up to window also, what was it, assets, will remain, and then they're all going to change other than the help at the end there, which is going to remain also. Okay, I'm going to go back to animation for now. So that's the menu bar and also the status bar. The status bar is also pretty useful, as well as, which we'll come to later on for modeling, using the snapping tools. Over here you can also change this little box here to do quite a few things, such as, if I change it back to absolute transform, which is the default, and create a cube quickly. Oops, the reason you can't see it selected is I've just got to change one of my settings in here so it's highlighted when it's selected. Now, yeah, one of the useful features is you can move your objects around, and if you want to get it to align to a certain plane, you just come back here and put some absolute numbers in there. Another good thing about this, which I use quite a bit, is if you're naming multiple objects, you can come in here and edit that to rename. If I select all these objects now one at a time, I can pop in, I don't know, box, hit enter, and that's going to go through and pop a number on the end there. So it's pretty good if you're doing big scenes and you want to rename a lot of stuff quickly. Okay, so that's that there. I'll just pop that back to the default. So yeah, that's those two toolbars. Moving down, we've got the selection tools and the transformation tools. So if I create a polygon again of some kind, we've got the general select tool, so the shortcut for that being Q. Okay, and then we've got the lasso select tool, so we can draw like a region around something, and then the paint select tool. Okay, so that's pretty useful sometimes, but generally I stick to mainly just using the default select tool. And then the transformation tools come next. So we've got the move tool, the rotate tool, and the scale tool. All of these you can use the shortcuts of W, E, and R. Again, very useful to quickly flick through those, and then you can again grab these handles and do whatever you like. Okay. One of the useful things is you'll find that if your manipulator tool is looking too small or too big, you can use the plus and minus icons to increase the scale of that or decrease the scale. Okay, so that's the plus and minus on the keyboard to increase and decrease the scale of your manipulator handle. Okay, so that's W, E, and R, very useful. And again, if you double click any of these, you can bring up the tool settings. And I've just just grabbed that from the dotted line there, so I can move that around. I usually stick it over here. So yeah, that's double clicking any one of these tools to bring up the tool settings. Again, pretty useful for modeling will be the soft selection. So if I go to component mode, which we'll come to at another time, by turning on soft selection, it creates this fall off with the selected object, so you get this sort of it creates, you know, warping effects quickly, or move bundles of vertices around pretty quickly. I'll just turn that off for now. But yeah, tool settings here very useful later on for modeling or just general moving your assets around. You can see if I go from object mode, which follows the normal of the selected vertex, I can switch to world mode, which follows the, you know, Y is up, X is left to right, and Z is the depth. So yeah, very useful again. Another shortcut to get to this, if I cross that off, is to hold down the W and the left mouse button, and that will bring up a marking menu, which you can drag your mouse cursor onto to switch between you know, object mode, world mode. There we can turn on reflection. Come here, we can there's quite a few things you can do, and you can do that for everyone. So if I go to the rotate and hold the E key on the keyboard and left mouse, I get the a quick marking menu for that tool as well. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to object mode. So that's the transformation tools, and again there's also this one here, which is the universal manipulator, which just confuses me, to be honest with you. I get pretty you can see already I've lost the plot with that. Yeah, it just sort of annoys me, so I generally just stick to W and E and R when manipulating my object or vertices, faces, etc. You also have this one, which is a soft selection. Creates a soft mod handle, sorry, a bit like the soft selection, but you get this handle to manipulate. Again, that can be quite useful, but can get pretty messy sometimes if you're just learning Maya for the first time. Okay, so I'm gonna delete that, and I'm gonna hit this home button, which I sort of mentioned is the only useful feature for this view cube. Going back to the default, you can use this thing to navigate, but please learn how to do it using the Alt key, because yeah, this is very cumbersome. You can, you know, turn that off. I find that very annoying, that thing. So I generally turn off the view cube. Okay, so yeah, to navigate in Maya, I'm just going to create something so we can move around. To navigate in Maya, it's all going to be based on the Alt on the keyboard and the free mouse keys on your mouse. So we've got the Alt and the left mouse button, which will rotate the camera. We've got the Alt and the middle mouse button to sort of pan the camera, and then the Alt and the right mouse button to zoom in and out. Okay, you can also again use just scroll the middle mouse button to do the zoom feature as well if you wanted, but it's all based on the Alt. So we've got the Alt, left mouse again for the rotation, middle mouse for the panning, and then the right mouse button for the zooming. And I guess, you know, that's pretty similar to a lot of packages using the Alt and those three, so I'm sure you'll probably get pretty familiar with that pretty quick. So moving on down, underneath the toolbox we have the sort of viewport configurations. Again, by default it gives you the perspective. You can come here to click on the second one down, which is the 4 views that you get. So you get the free orthographic and the perspective. The orthographic, if I hit 5 in these, just so I can see the shaded. Again, you can hit 4 and 5 to go between shaded and wireframe mode. In the orthographic views, you'll notice that you cannot rotate the camera, so the left mouse button is pretty much switched off. What you can do though, if I come back here to the view cube, if I do this and actually go to a corner in this, I still can't rotate the camera, but you can sort of switch, you know, instead of being on dead on flat, you can go to a odd angle. I'm just going to go back home. So yeah, you can use that for that. Again, I find the orthographic views, once you start playing with them in that manner, things can get messy, especially if you're using image planes for modeling, for example. So it's best just to leave them in their true orthographic state. So again, I'm going to turn off that view cube. Okay, so we've got the second one down, switches to the 4-pane view. Instead of going back here to, if I want to maximize that screen to perspective, you can hit the spacebar or tap the spacebar. So if I tap the spacebar in that perspective, it takes me back here. If I tap it again, I'm back in the 4-pane setup. I can also move these sort of dividers to edit the windows. Again, spacebar and anyone will maximize it. Donk. And if you want to go back to that, you can. Okay. I'm going to go to this again. Yeah, the quickest way, and I should have mentioned this with the menu thing, that or the way that I tend to work is I tend to work in just mainly one viewport. But I hold down the space bar, which brings up the hotbox, which again is pretty much all of this in a tidy-ish sort of window. It can get pretty messy when you start clicking and opening things up. It gets pretty heavy, fills up the screen quite a bit. But you can hold the space bar, and if you left mouse click within the Maya, you get this here. And this is, for me, the quickest way to change to a different view. So if I want to work around this object and then I want to go to the front view, I can just quickly let go on the front, holding down space, left mouse clicking, and then dropping on any one of these. And again, I find that the quickest way to work, just to quickly switch using the hotbox. Okay. So yeah, where were we? We were working our way down here. So the next one down, probably one of the most useful ones, is going to be the viewport configuration for your main sort of viewport that you're working in, and the outliner, which we can also find under Window Outliner. If you wanted to have it floating around, you can just come Window Outliner, and this allows you to look at your scene and what's in your scene, and tidy things up, and rename assets. So if I duplicate this a couple of times, you can see they all pop up here. If I create a light, that's going to pop up here. We can double click to rename box A, and then later on we'll look at hierarchies. We can edit the hierarchies of this object. So I can middle mouse drag and drop within another object, and this cube is now the parent of this cube. Okay, so that's a child of this one here. So yeah, there's lots of things you can do. You can see as you start creating hierarchies within here, you need to open these up to see what's a child, what's a parent, and you can, again, middle mouse dragging and dropping somewhere else will bring that out of the hierarchy. So very useful window, the outliner, to clean up your scene and make sure everything is nice and neat. Okay, so I'm going to cross that off for now. There's also a few more down here. So there's the animation graph editor here with the hyper shade, so the hypergraph. So I'm just going to close that up, come back here, and then to the right hand side of the screen we've got the channel box, which again brings up all these parameters for this object. Okay, so you can come in here. What I'm doing here to manipulate it, instead of punching in numbers, which you can also do, is I'm highlighting the word and middle mouse dragging in the viewport. So I'm just middle mouse dragging in the viewport so I can do that interactively, which again is a pretty good way of manipulating these objects in quite an interactive manner. Okay, so you can restrict the movement to one, or you can do many if you wanted to, but you can restrict it to one and manipulate the object. And then if you hit Control A, that's going to switch between the attribute editor and the channel box, or you could come here and switch between these two tabs. But Control A, again, if you pull one off and then cross it off and then cross that off to maximize your screen, Control A will bring them back, as well as switch between them. And the attribute editor is is pretty much the channel box, just with a lot more information. You can open these up, you can see you've got a lot more parameters in here that you can edit, as well as the shader that's applied to these objects. Okay, that's that there. And what else did I want to go through? I think that's pretty much the key areas that I wanted to cover. So we've got the menu bar, we've got the toolbox here, the channel box, and the attribute editor, the outliner, which is here, and then as you can probably see from the first image that's been the figure 01, we've also got the time slider here, the range slider, which you can grab either end to increase or decrease the amount of frames you're using. You can also punch in numbers here and here if you wanted to, so you can change the range. And then we've got, which will be pretty useful, is going to be the preferences window here. So if things do start to freak out, you can always just go back to edit, restore default settings, to go back to your default settings. The other thing that I've quickly done is I'm not a big fan of this background sort of gradient stuff, so I hold the Alt and the B key to change that background. You can it's all under the color settings as well. You can come up with your own unique color combo, etc., if you wanted to. But okay, so that's pretty much a general quick look at the user interface that you're presented with, and hopefully we'll get a bit deeper later on. Okay, so I hope that helps. Any questions, feel free to send an email or get in touch. Okay, take care.